Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly stunning story of unseen sacrifice and ultimate vindication. It centers around a 33-year-old woman named Sophia Reynolds. You know, when huge wealth and inheritances are on the line, families can totally fracture. But Sophia's story, it goes way beyond just money. It literally forces us to ask deep questions about value, true partnership, and how the truth just has a way of revealing itself at the exact right moment. Let's break down exactly what happened here.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Picture the scene. It's the reading of her late husband David's will. Now, keep in mind, they had been married for 15 years, a decade and a half. Yet, the initial distribution of his estate was just incredibly lopsided. David came from a pretty wealthy family, and according to this first document, his brother was essentially handed the keys to the kingdom. We're talking the businesses, the investment accounts, millions in assets, the whole shebang. And Sophia, well, she was left with just a small savings account and their old house. You can imagine the atmosphere in that room. It was absolutely thick with the family's satisfied, smug smiles. They completely thought this was the final word.
And to make matters worse, his family wasn't just relieved, they were openly, unapologetically cruel. While they were sitting there smugly celebrating this massive windfall, David's mother actually leaned over to Sophia and whispered, "Some wives just don't know how to secure their future." I mean, wow. It is just a breathtaking insult, isn't it? It completely dismissed 15 years of Sophia's life and her absolutely crucial role in their marriage. The emotional stakes in that room were sky high. Sophia was surrounded by people treating her like an outsider who just failed to cash in.
But here's the crazy part. Sophia didn't argue. She didn't break down and cry. She just sat there quietly with her hands folded in her lap. Why? Because she knew a massive secret that the rest of that celebrating room did not. David had actually left behind a secret second envelope. And he had given very specific, totally undeniable instructions to his attorney that it was only to be opened after the main will had been completely read. The tension in that room must have been absolutely palpable as the lawyer finally reached for it. But wait, to truly understand the immense weight of what was actually inside that envelope, we need to take a quick step back and look at how Sophia and David even got to this point.
So, their story goes back 15 years. Sophia was a simple school counselor when she first married David, who, is this ambitious, charming guy from a wealthy background. In those early years, she was his absolute rock, his foundation. She supported him through the incredibly difficult, lean years of building his company from the ground up. And as time went on, she took on even more. She was managing their home, she was even caring for his aging parents. She was basically acting as the quiet engine completely driving his public achievements.
But there was a severe hidden cost to all that support. Because she believed in them as a team, Sophia actually gave up her own dream of starting a counseling center. She worked full-time while literally holding the rest of their lives together. But as David became more successful, this really dark shift occurred. He started traveling constantly, grew super distant, and even began criticizing her. I mean, her clothes, her weight, the way she spoke, he was pulling away. Yet Sophia stayed because she truly believed marriage meant weathering those painful storms. And this brilliantly illustrates the profound psychological toll of an unbalanced partnership, where one person's foundational support is just met with a steady erosion of their self-worth.
Then, tragedy struck, completely without warning. David suddenly passed away from a massive heart attack. For Sophia, this was obviously devastating. She had lost the man she built her entire adult life around. And the funeral, well, it was packed with David's highly successful friends and his wealthy family. And the atmosphere there was incredibly dismissive. They treated Sophia as if she were merely a bystander in David's grand life. Which, of course, brings us exactly back to that lawyer's office. The family is smiling, and that first will has just been read.
So what does this all mean? We have to ask ourselves, what was actually in that second envelope? I want you to put yourself right back in that room. The mother has just delivered her cruel insult. The brother is literally sitting there counting his millions in his head. And the lawyer slowly breaks the seal of this final hidden document. Everything in this story completely hinges on David's last handwritten words.
The lawyer begins to read, and what emerges is this profound, almost shocking shift in David's perspective right at the end of his life. He wrote, "To my family and to Sophia, if you are hearing this, I am no longer here. First, I want to correct the main will. Sophia, my wife, has been the only constant in my life." He finally admitted that while he was out there chasing success and totally losing his way, Sophia was the one holding everything together. He recognized all of her silent sacrifices, concluding with the words, "She loved me even when I didn't deserve it."
And then came the ultimate twist, a legal pivot that changed absolutely everything. David wrote, "Therefore, I leave the majority of my estate, all my business shares, the investment accounts, and the vacation home to my wife Sophia. To my brother and mother, I leave only what was stated in the first will. Boom! He completely flipped the script. But honestly, beyond the millions of dollars, this was really about validation. He ended the letter by explicitly apologizing to Sophia for making her feel less, stating, "You were never less. You were everything. Thank you for being my real partner."
Oh, and the reaction in that room? It was instantaneous. The family's smugness just evaporated into dead, pin-drop silence. David's mother, the same woman who just moments before had viciously insulted Sophia, well, her face turned completely white. His brother looked as though he had been physically slapped. The satisfaction was entirely gone. And Sophia, she didn't gloat. She didn't even smile or cry in front of them. Holding on to every ounce of her dignity, she simply thanked the lawyer and walked out.
Now, naturally, because we're talking about millions of dollars here, David's mother and brother did not exactly walk away quietly. No way. They immediately tried to challenge the will. However, handwritten legal addendums, especially when they are explicit and clearly demonstrate the deceased's final intent, are notoriously airtight. So, their challenges? They failed entirely. They were left with exactly what David had dictated in that initial highly restrictive draft just for them, which, as we know, was almost nothing.
So, the crucial point is really what Sophia decided to do next. She didn't let the bitterness consume her. First, she took the necessary time to just heal from the trauma of those final, incredibly difficult years. Then, using her newfound financial security, she actually restarted the very dream she had put on hold a decade and a half prior, her counseling center. She finally traveled to the destinations they had planned together but never quite got around to visiting. Ultimately, she finally started living for herself. Her house and, more importantly, her heart finally felt lighter.
This entire explainer leaves us with a really powerful final thought to consider. Is your worth being decided by others or by the quiet truth? Sophia's story is such a striking reminder that real love and real justice, they aren't always loud or immediate. Sometimes they are just quiet, steady, and only revealed at the very, very end. So if you ever feel unseen or unappreciated, just remember that your true value is absolutely not dictated by the criticisms or the smugness of those around you. Sometimes the greatest justice is simply the quiet truth finally and undeniably being spoken. Thanks for exploring this amazing story with us today.